Hello everyone, it's Chris here, and today I want to do another video on my top 5 Star Wars vehicles. This time we're talking about the ones with legs. Please note that this list may not include the strongest one ever built, and this list is purely based on which ones I think are the most badass. Let's begin. To start off the list, we have the ATRT, All-Terrain Recon Transport. The ATRT was 3.2 meters tall and was built by Quad Drive Yards. This little two-legged Republic-era walker was a very widely used vehicle in the Clone Wars. It was fast and deadly, with a maximum running speed of 90 kilometers per hour. This little thing was mainly used as the name refers to, being a recon transport. It was lightly armed with a repeating blaster cannon, great for fighting against infantry, and then it also had a mortar launcher for short-range bombardment. The reason for why it is not placed any higher on this list is that, even though I really like it, I favor it less because of its combat abilities. Although with it being completely open, the pilot is also directly exposed to both enemy fire as well as the elements. This little thing was small enough to be deployed everywhere, and it was useful in almost every single encounter with enemy forces, though not as a frontline vehicle, but great for support. This vehicle is referenced heavily in the Clone Wars TV show from 2008, where it is mounted and piloted by Jedi Master Mace Windu on Ryloth. Fourth on the list we have the ATST, aka All-Terrain Scout Transport. This walker has always been one of my favorites. It was also built by the Quad Drive Yards and had pretty much the same role as its predecessor, the ATRT. This one was basically a box on legs. It was taller, stronger, and in general terms better in every way except for concealment than the ATRT. It was 8.6 meters tall and weighed in at around 12,100 kilos, and it was armed with one twin blaster cannon in the front, and then on the sides it had homing concussion missile launchers. It was just as fast as the ATRT, going at a maximum speed of 90 kilometers per hour. This thing was protecting the crew all the way around, but the drawback was that it was prone to flanking because of its weak and easily damaged sensors that would otherwise give it a 360-degree vision. The crew also only had small holes in the front to look through, as seen in Return of the Jedi. It also had another weakness: wooden logs. Yeah, laugh at me if you want. This vehicle was mostly seen in Star Wars Episode 6 Return of the Jedi on Endor, as well as in countless Star Wars games. Third on the list we have the ATAP, aka All-Terrain Attack Pod. The ATAP was 11 meters tall and was also built by Quad Drive Yards. This thing had many uses, yet it had limited usage. It could be used as artillery or just as heavy infantry support. It had two legs with a third one hanging from its belly and was normally used for stabilizing should the ATAP use its big gun, or was it employed for usage whenever the walker had to go over very rough terrain. It was capable of moving with about 60 kilometers per hour, and this thing didn't have any shields, but it did have some nasty weapons to boast with, being a heavy projectile launcher, a heavy blaster cannon, and a medium laser cannon. Some would call this an artillery walker for good reason. Its design was heavily influenced by the front of the ATTE walker. Often it served as a support vehicle for the ATTEs and A6 juggernauts. It was used in the Clone Wars and Empire era, although through the time the Galactic Empire phased it out for other weapons. This thing was too specialized to be put in its own group, thereby causing it to become nothing more than a mere support vehicle. Nevertheless, this machine kicked some serious CIS butt. Its powerful cannon could rip through AATs with a few shots, and if aiming properly, one shot was enough. It was, however, pretty easy to outflank, and it didn't have very strong armor. You could say it was kind of a paper tiger. This vehicle was mostly featured in Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith on Kashyyyk. Second on this list is the AT-AT, the All-Terrain Armored Transport. This thing was big, heavy, and devastating. It wreaked havoc and inspired fear wherever it went, no matter who and what it faced. It was 20 meters long and 22.5 meters tall, and it was, as the name implies, heavily armed and armored. It was armed with 2 heavy laser cannons that could rip through fortifications, buildings, vehicles, and more. It was also armed with 2 medium laser cannons that were really good for taking down most vehicles and other armor. This thing meant business. Its armor consisted of hardened durasteel, and its armor was way too strong for normal blasters, as Luke Skywalker famously stated. That armor is too strong for blasters, when he tried shooting it in his T-47 airspeeder, also referred to as snowspeeder. Not only was the armor strong, but like the design of the A6 Juggernaut, also known as Republic Turbo Tank, the armor on the AT-AT dispersed most laser blasts. Kinda like the Imperial Stormtroopers did in the episodes of Star Wars Rebels. The AT-AT was not without weaknesses, however. It was prone to problems with the hydraulics that kept its legs going, and also those legs and its belly section was vulnerable to enemy fire, along with the neck being equally, if not even more, vulnerable. Also, its legs were prone to being bound by the cord by the T-47 land speeders that were used on Hoth, and so it wasn't so much a wonder weapon as the imps hoped for it to be. For support and recon, it carried 5 speeder bikes in its butt, and also carried 2 AT-ATs and 40 troops along with it. This thing was almost a moving division on its own right. First on this list is the aforementioned ATTE, or All-Terrain Tactical Enforcer. This thing is, in my opinion, a beast. It was big, heavy, and it was capable of some quite remarkable things. It was built by Rothana Heavy Engineering and was 13.2 meters long and could go up at a maximum speed of about 60 kilometers per hour. This thing didn't only have 2, 3, or 4 legs. Oh no, it had 6, 3 on each side, 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, 2 in the rear, and all were capable of moving independently. This thing was big enough to function as a mobile base for troops for a short time, and it was heavily armed and armored. Nearly nothing of a fatal blow would take this out of a fight. With 6 anti-personnel blasters mounted as ball turrets, it could swing its guns around to make sure that it would always hit its target, almost no matter the direction. 4 cannons facing forwards and 2 facing backwards to cover the rear. It also had a powerful mass driver cannon mounted on top. This was the signature ground vehicle of the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars and was used in the very first battle that initiated the conflict, the First Battle of Geonosis. It also carried 2 folded AT-RTs that it could use to scout ahead for enemy activity, along with carrying a full platoon of troops. Also, the AT-ATE was capable of something that greatly surprised me. Going up a vertical slope on a mountain as seen in Star Wars The Clone Wars movie from 2008. I mean, this thing was impressive. Even when those 2 droids on their stabs were shooting on the mountain around the first 2 feet of the ATTE, the middle ones and the rear ones still held on to the mountain even when its spine was bent backwards. I mean, what other vehicle in Star Wars is capable of doing such a thing? The only real weakness that it had was if it took a missile under its belly that would take it out, and also shooting the pilot who was only protected by glass that couldn't resist light blaster fire. Also, it had 1 person in the mass driver cannon who was mostly exposed, but apart from that, this vehicle was simply the best. In my view, this thing deserves the title as the #1 legged vehicle of all time in the Star Wars universe, according to my list. Of course, that is all just my opinion, and, well, if you don't agree with me, that's all fine, but, well, again, this is not really a facts list, it's more my personal top 5 favorites, so. Well, anyways, I really hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, why don't you throw a like, comment, maybe a subscribe, and, well, I guess we'll see you guys in another video. Please enjoy the rest of the day, evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are on the planet, in the galaxy. So, yeah. Well, Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.